A pair of Grateful Dead 50th anniversary editions? Less than $20 a piece? Let's go. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. You found your way over to the Modest Audiophile channel, and yeah, today we're going to talk about a pair of Grateful Dead 50th anniversary editions. I found these in the cheap bin at Barnes Noble. I didn't know there was a cheap bin at Barnes Noble. Now I do. So let me set this up. I'm out going to an appointment last week, and I drove by in Barnes & Noble, and I figured, all right, when I get out of here, let me swing by the Barnes & Noble to scratch an itch that I've got. And let's see what they have. Maybe something jumps out at me. Sure enough, I get in there, take a look around, went through the entire collection. I had one aside, and I said, maybe I'll get that another time, but I noticed that there was a under $20 bin. I had never seen that before. And in fact, it says cheap. $20 bin. So I immediately started thumbing through that section, and yeah, I found a couple of these Grateful Dead 50th anniversary edition Barnes & Noble exclusive. I think the exclusive is to the color variants, and we'll get to that in a second. But let me just state, let's see, for 20 bucks a piece, I said, what? I can't go wrong with these things. Let me pick them up. I heard good things about them, so for 20 bucks, let's just do it. So let me just get this taken care of off the top here. I'm a big Grateful Dead fan, but for the most part, I really dig the live stuff. I lost count of how many concerts I have recordings of. I don't really get into the studio stuff much. Not because I don't think it's any good, it's just because, again, the way I listen to the Grateful Dead, it certainly isn't on my stereo here. For the most part, I listen to it while I'm grilling or at a concert or something like that, and I'm moving around. Trying to sit down in a chair and listen to the Grateful Dead, it's difficult for me. But with that said, is I do have this Grateful Dead album. This is the Kevin Gray cut of Blues for Allah, I think from 2011. This thing is absolutely incredible. Sounds excellent, full-blown holographic experience, all of that stuff. Also, a little bit more than $20 for this. Maybe some other time I'll get to this. But for today's purposes, yeah, let's get back to these two. So at the Barnes & Noble, I picked these two up, and I got two totally different experiences listening to them. So what we'll do in this video real quick is, yeah, we'll go over the presentation. Not a lot here to talk about. Pretty simple. Not a gatefold jacket, just a simplicity at its best. What do you expect for $20? We'll talk about the tone stack, and then I'll call out what I think the soundstage and image feels like, sounds like, and then I'll get into some of the songs and what I thought was either remarkable, unremarkable, and leave it there. We'll get to my final thoughts at the end. All right. So let's start with which one should we start with? Let's start with, I guess, chronological order. We'll start with Wake of the Flood. All right, so Wake of the Flood, we'll start with this. Yeah, 50th anniversary edition. I think this came out in 2023, so around 1973. And again, the Barnes & Noble exclusive. And I think that mostly has to do with the color. I'm not a big color variant guy. In fact, I try to shy away from them as best I can, mostly because I can't see how much dust or if there's any scratches or anything on the record when I buy them. Anyway, brand new for less than $20. What did I have to lose? Came home, put both of these records in the Humming Guru. They both cleaned up very nice, so I'll say that first. As far as the overall condition of the piece of vinyl on Wake of the Flood, no noise coming in between the tracks. There's really no surface noise, certainly no pops, no clicks, no skips. Almost flat, just a little bit of a wave, and maybe it's been sitting in the bin for a little while. I'm not sure, but overall, again, for 20 bucks, condition was just fine. The overall sound stage on Wake of the Flood. My My speakers are 9 feet apart, these Super Lintons behind me, and I sit 9 feet away. This wasn't the largest soundstage, certainly wasn't the smallest, but on average, the soundstage reached about 4 feet left or right of the speakers, which was very nice. And as far as the height goes, it wasn't getting quite up to the ceiling, but it was getting about 2.5 to 3 feet above my tweeters. It did not reach quite to the floor, but was getting close. So a nice soundstage to be sure. The image was good. It was a good image. Not great, but a good image. The depth was okay on Wake of the Flood, meaning that my speakers are 3 feet in front of the back wall. I'm not getting any projection really from the music into the room, meaning if you close your eyes, see the music with your mind's eye, everything I'm hearing, or I could get that holographic sense, was coming from the speakers backwards. So nothing was really projecting into the room, if that makes sense. So an okay, an okay depth. All right, let's get on to the tone stack. As far as the bass goes, okay at best. It was thin, I'm going to be honest. The overall bass on Wake of the Flood was on the thin side. And when I say that, it was kind of all over the place. It really had to do with what track you were listening to. Same goes for the overall image and soundstage. I don't know if these songs were recorded in different locations, but you definitely got a different sense of the soundstage, image, and tone stack depending on which song you were listening to. So overall, the bass was on the thin side. Mids were good to very good. Vocally, instruments for the most part were really nice. Treble, you were getting a little bit of sparkle up on top. The high notes of the keyboards, the cymbals, yeah, that was there. That was good. I don't know if I'm thinking that because of the lack of bass or what, but overall, the sound stack or the tone stack was good. It certainly leans a bit brighter, and if you're going to put on a warm or cold spectrum, this was neutral to cold for the most part. There are a couple songs where I would say different on, but for the most part, this was on the cooler side. Certainly comparing it to the next one that we'll do, which will be from the Mars Hotel. This one was a little cooler. All right, let's get on to side one. And I'll try and call out which songs, again, sounded kind of weak, brittle. Maybe that's a strong word, but certainly on the cooler side of the spectrum as opposed to the warmer side of the spectrum. We start off with Mississippi Half Step. Jerry's vocals are pushed back. In fact, on this whole song, the whole presentation, I thought, was pushed back. The soundstage was pushed back. Again, not projecting into the room. The soundstage was flatter as well. Sometimes you get that sensation where the soundstage is starting to wrap around you a little bit. I did not get that much with this album. And again, Jerry's voice was pushed back. I put soundstages back. It's thin. Jerry guitar on the left, however, I won't say it was projected into the room, but it was kind of flush with the front of the speaker, if that makes sense. So the rest of the soundstage and image was pushed back, and Jerry's guitar on the left side of the soundstage was kind of right there at the edge of the speaker. Going into the second song, Let Me Sing Your Blues Away, a Keith vocal. And if you want to hear this song, you gotta kind of have to hear it here. It was only played 6 times live. So yeah, Let Me Sing Your Blues Away. Keith on vocals. Nice sax I put here. Nice. It did kind of project a little bit. Fuller sounding soundstage. Everything was pushed a little bit back where it belongs. More mids and bass is better on this song. Sounds very good. I really enjoyed this song. And again, if you want to listen to this song, you kind of have to buy the record because it's only on 6 live shows that I'm aware of. All right, let's go on to song number 3, Row Jimmy, another one of my favorites live. Jerry still kind of pushed back on this one. In fact, this song sounded a lot like Mississippi Half Step from the first one, right? So that soundstage now is kind of boomeranged back again, and it's a flatter soundstage. It does get better with volume, but again, for such a great song, the soundstage sounded very much like the first one in Mississippi Half Step. All right, the fourth song, last song on side 1 is Stella Blue, and it does shine. It is the shining star of side 1. The bass is more forward, it's fuller. Overall soundstage is bigger. You can feel a little bit of air in it. You can feel a little bit of airiness in the overall presentation as well. So it feels more holographic. It feels like it has more depth. It has more substance, if that makes sense. The piano on the right, while it's playing the high notes, actually sparkle quite a bit, and those high notes are in space. It's projecting just a titch into the listening room. Yeah, really nice. I quite enjoyed Stella Blue. All right, we'll flip it on to side 2, and this is where the album starts to come alive a little bit, again, from a presentation perspective. The first song, Here Comes Sunshine, again, not one that they overly played. It was played 66 times live, so if you want to hear it, this is a good place to hear it. Lots of space in the soundstage. Again, you're getting a little bit more airiness, and again, I'm comparing it to the verse side. Good warmth in the bass. Overall, mids are a bit warmer too. It's like, okay, now we're getting someplace. Get on to Eyes of the World, which is the second song on the second side. And first thing I put, here we go. Finally, you're starting to get that sense of a much more engaging soundstage. It's a toe tapper for sure. Jerry is more up front, as well as the rest of the band. You're getting more, the presentation is more in your listening room. Full and warmer, very good soundstage. And the lead guitar coming out of the center in this case, yeah, clear and detailed, very nice. Eyes of the World really was well done on side 2. All right, song number 3, or really that 3-parter for Weather Report Suite, right? Section 1, 2, and 3. So the prelude starts with a full sound stage, very nice, and the only thing you're hearing is a very warm and full acoustic guitar, really nice. And then the bass is more full, nice details as well. It's a really nice image that you're getting here with the Weather Report Suite. As we go into section number 2, you start to feel the space within the soundstage, if that makes sense. It's not necessarily what you're hearing, it's what you're not hearing. But it presents itself as a full soundstage. The image feels different. It feels quite a bit different from anything else that I've heard on the record so far. And Jerry plays a really nice steel guitar coming out of the left side of the soundstage, and it does hold itself in isolation. I won't necessarily project into the room, but it is in isolation, so it does have that holographic nature to it. Really cool. And then this is the last section of the Weather Report Suite, Let It Grow. I just put very good, full, just like the rest of the Weather Report Suite, thoroughly enjoyable. This album wrapped up very well. So overall, for $20, I'm pretty happy I got it. 50th anniversary, the mastering was done very well with that plangent process of the tape speed correction, all of that stuff. Anyway, for $20, yeah, it's a really good buy. And be confident if you are in the market for Wake of the Flood. All right, now let's get on to the other one that I got, which was from the Mars Hotel. Another Barnes Noble exclusive, and I think that really has to do with the color. Again, not into the colors. Neon pink and all, but for $20, hey, I don't care what the color is, as long as it's flat and it sounds good. And in this case, the record again was almost flat. Just a little bit of a wave on one side, didn't affect the music whatsoever. As far as how it sounded, was there any surface noise? There were no pops, there were no clicks, certainly no skips. In between songs, or maybe in the run out in the beginning, the run in maybe, we'll call it, just a hair of a little bit of surface noise, but just a hair, barely. Just enough to make me mention it here on the video. Overall, condition was really nice. Where Wake of the Flood was kind of thin and on the cool side of the spectrum, from the Mars Hotel it was definitely a warmer presentation. So here we go. As far as the sound stage, you're getting a larger sound stage with Mars Hotel than you were from Wake of the Flood. You're getting about an extra ½ foot on either side, so it's pushing out to 4.5+ feet on either side of my speakers, and the height is getting right up there towards my ceiling, which is a good 4 feet above my tweeters, and I was getting soundstage down near the floor as well. So overall, the presentation, the overall soundstage was bigger on Mars Hotel. As far as image goes, I put solid. Speakers, the depth is from, for the most part, the speakers back to the wall, but it does go back further. It kind of goes back to 3 feet. And I am getting some projection into the room with some of the instruments and some of the effects, we'll say, a good 6+ inches into the room. As far as the tone stack goes, the bass is full and warm. Everything that Wake of the Flood really wasn't, Mars Hotel has. Mids were very good. The vocals, the instruments, really nice mids, very tasty. And as far as the treble goes, yeah, you got some air and some space. There's definitely some sparkle there, and I'll call that out in some of the songs here in a minute. But the tone stack from the Mars Hotel, I really enjoyed it. Overall, a warm presentation is what I put down here. All right, now let's get on to side 1, and we'll talk about some of the things that I wanted to call out on some of these songs. So, side 1, let's go. Starts with US Blues. Nice piano coming out of the center right-ish right there in the sound stage. Very clear, really nice. Didn't recall hearing the piano that well on US Blues, even the one that you hear on the radio all the time, right? Really nice. Jerry's vocals were center of the soundstage, 3.5 feet above my tweeters. Really nice, strong presentation, more forward than Wake of the Flood for sure. Much more enjoyable place for Jerry to be as far as in the overall image. And really nice separation too. Was really enjoying US Blues. All right, on to song number 2, China Doll. Look, for those who don't think Jerry's got a good voice, he may not have the range of a Robert Plant or something, but let me tell you, Jerry's voice is perfect. Perfect for the Grateful Dead. Perfect for these type of songs like China Doll. Love his vocals. Really strong on this song. Has a big wide soundstage with a sharp and crispy image. Yeah, those are the words I'll use for this one. A sharp and crispy image. In fact, yeah, I've heard China Doll many times being played live on the different recordings that I have. I really, really like the studio version of this song. Maybe I like the studio version of China Doll as much, if not more, than most of the live recordings. So there, really liked it on this record. All right, for the third song on side 1, it's Phil's Unbroken Chain. It starts off, the drums kind of showcase where the soundstage is on this one. Nice wide soundstage I put. And in the upper right-hand side of that soundstage, you've got a hi-hat being tapped. Very clear, in space, very nice. The piano projects very well in this song too. Never recalled how much the piano projected in my previous listenings of this. This one's very nice. Then you have that high-pitched synth sound, right? That's unmistakable. It's the focal point of the song. And it does dance around in the soundstage and the image. Very nice. It's in space. Really, really nice. Best I've ever heard of this song. Very fun listen. All right, for the last song on side 1, song number 4, one of my all-time favorites, whether it's the fast version or the slow version. In this case, it's the fast version, is Loose Lucy. Love Loose Lucy. First thing I put here is that you got a great separation of the backing vocals in the overall soundstage. Every one of the backing vocals, Donna and the rest of them, they're all kind of segmented out separately. Very easy to discern where they are in the soundstage. And in fact, in the soundstage, this is the first song where you kind of get that feeling where the soundstage is starting to wrap a little bit at the edges of the soundstage. Kind of get that sense where it's kind of coming in at you. Really nice. Big soundstage. Jerry's slide guitar in this case is in space, very much separated from the rest of the song's image or projected within the image. Really nice. The bells and percussion in the upper left-hand side of the soundstage, certainly as it's coming to the end of the song, yeah, you can hear those really well. I didn't recall hearing it quite that vividly before. Loose Lucy, really well done here. All right, on to side 2, and side 2 starts with Scarlet Begonias. And right away, you notice that you get a very large and full soundstage, and it's starting out with the organ. It's not necessarily in the forefront of the soundstage, it's kind of in the middle towards the back wall, but it does fill the soundstage. Really nice. I never quite heard it like that before. And you're getting a little bit more of that soundstage starting to wrap around you, just like Loose Lucy from the last side. Scarlet Begonia's really nice soundstage, starting to do a little bit of wraparound, so you're getting that sensation of music and sounds coming at you almost from a side view as opposed to in the front. Pretty cool. Jerry's guitar is coming out the left-hand side of the soundstage, and it is projecting into the room a little bit by about 6 inches. Quite nice. We get into song number 2, Pride of Cucamonga. And if you want to hear this song, it was never played live as far as I know. This is the only way to hear it. And it sounds really good, I put here. John McPhee plays the steel guitar. Thought it was Jerry. I had to look it up. It's not. It's John McPhee. And it is a very tasty steel guitar. Really, really nice. And Keith's playing a really nice piano on the right-hand side of the soundstage that is projecting into the room. Nice. Song number 3, Money Money. The soundstage is a little bit narrower on this song, but it still maintains its height, if that makes sense. So it's kind of squeezed in a little bit tighter to the speakers, to the edge of the speakers. It's no longer 4.5 feet. It's kind of coming in a little bit. It doesn't take away anything from the image, which is still very nice. I put very good image, sharp edges, and clear. I just noticed that the overall size of the soundstage was diminished a little bit. And it ends with Ship of Fools. And you have a great snare and hi-hat in the center of the image, about 6 inches in front of the speakers. It is projecting in space, kind of got that holographic sense to it. Really nice. Very good warm bass coming out of the center of the soundstage, bubbling up from the floor. Deep soundstage, nice warm bass. You are getting that sense of a little bit of air and space as well in Ship of Fools, meaning the image has a tangibility effect. I don't know if that makes sense, but you get more of a sense of the overall image, if that makes sense. Full sounding organ. When the organ comes in, it projects front of the image, front of the soundstage, kind of not quite in your face, but it starts off here, and then as the song plays, it kind of recedes a little bit within the soundstage, playing with depth a little bit there, which is really nice. I won't say interactive, but a very lively soundstage with Ship of Fools. And that's it from the Mars Hotel. All right, everybody, that's it. I really wanted to share with you the news that I didn't know Barnes Noble had a cheap bin. So if you're a deadhead out there and you're looking to get those 50th anniversary editions of these albums, whether it be from the Mars Hotel or Wake of the Flood, yeah, you can get them for $20 right now at the brick and mortar store, Barnes Noble. You might find some other good deals there as well. Also, I did some snooping, and both of these list priced at the time for $26 a piece. So there's a $6 savings there, but there's more. I did check on Amazon, and right now you can get these for 19 and change each. You can get them in 2 days if you order them. I don't get anything for it. I wish I did, but I don't. In fact, those online on Amazon are not the color variants. They are the standard black variants. So in hindsight, would I have gotten those? The black one? Yeah, I probably would have, just so I can see the condition of the vinyl. Anyway, so that's it. Both of them really good. This one here certainly projected warmer over this one. This one had a bigger soundstage. This one had a deeper soundstage. This one was a bit a more engaging soundstage, but this one's no slouch either. Apart from a couple songs which sounded a little bit thin and pushed back, the rest of the album really cleaned up nice. In fact, side number 2 on this album really came into its own. So for $20 or less, if you're a deadhead, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Even if you're like me and you really like the live stuff, I really enjoyed these more than I thought I would. So yeah, I'll leave it with that. I really enjoyed these records, and if you are so inclined, yeah, go out there, And do this. Do yourself a favor, everybody. If you're a deadhead, yeah, go out there and you only want to spend $19 and change, place the order on Amazon. You get it in 2 days. In the meantime, set some time aside for yourself because you matter. When they come in, give it a nice bath in any means that you can. Get your favorite beverage. By the way, these pair very nicely with bourbon, just saying. Get your favorite beverage, set it aside, turn the lights down a little bit in your listening room, drop the needle, and listen to some Grateful Dead magic coming your way. Thoroughly enjoyable, and for $20, man, just perfect. Really excellent. Till the next time, everybody, take care, be well, bye.